Hey guys, Rachel from Live and Love Yoga and Wellness. Just wanted to jump on and talk about some things I've been thinking about, right? So, I wanted to talk about healing and different healing modalities and how they show up in your life, how they change throughout your process of healing, and how to utilize healing modalities to the best of your ability, or how to almost um, become aware of how to utilize them to the best of their ability, I should say. Um, so, to start, I believe that yoga, all energy work, all types of, I believe in holistic healing. And holistic healing is when we're treating the mind, body, and the spirit, right? So in yoga, for example, we have the asanas, which is the postures. That's the yoga poses. And there's a few different types of yoga that you'll encounter. And I don't think a lot of people know or understand a lot about these modalities, but they each offer different types of healing. They activate different parts of the body, different parts of the chakra system. So it's really dependent upon what you're looking for. So it really starts with, how do I know what I'm looking for, right? So part of what I teach is about tapping into the body and figuring that out, right? So if you were to come to me, I would cater your yoga practice and your healing practice to like what was going on, right? But if you're just out in the world, here's how we figure out a little bit of how we want to use some of these modalities in order to heal, right? So for example, like Vinyasa is a warrior series. So Vinyasa is a series of poses that actually have a mythology behind it that is characterized by being at war. So when you study yoga and when you study Vinyasa, you learn about the Bhagavad Gita, you learn about some of these poses, what they mean. You also learn how to teach them and how they should feel in the body and in your body. So understand that Vinyasa is going to be an activating series, right? So that's also going to, and can possibly, depending on the teacher and depending on the type of class, have poses in there that are activating to the solar plexus, activating to the heart chakra, activating to the throat chakra. All of these things are good if they need to be more activated. For example, you could have an overactive solar plexus. So if you have an overactive solar plexus, or let's say an overactive, crown chakra situation, and the mind is all over the place, right? It may be a good idea that even though Vinyasa feels amazing in the body, and will still create a meditative state for you because of the movement. The marrying of movement and breath creates that meditative state. It gets you out of your norm. It creates endorphins and increases dopamine and serotonin. So all amazing things, right? But in order to use these modalities, in order to heal the body, to do the real inner work that you might possibly be working through, you would have to look at what you really have going on physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? So for somebody that has a lot of anxiety, Vinyasa may be too activating. At times it may feel good, but you really have to look at like how that is showing up in your life and wonder if a slower pose series may help heal the body in certain ways, like going into a gentle yoga series where you're closer to the earth, where you're more activating other chakras that might be blocked, that have to do with part of overactivating or underactivating of other chakra systems. So when we do a more gentle series, sometimes we stay closer to the ground. Sometimes we're more folded over, where we're not really opening up those spaces, but we're like really getting into like the nooks and crannies. We're going into like that hermit position where we're going really inward and we're quieting down and we're slowing down. And there's a time in life where that's the medicine, where the slowing down and really taking the time and hearing the breath and feeling the body is the medicine. And then there's a time where the vinyasa, not that you can't experience this in vinyasa as well. I'm not trying to generalize anything. I'm just trying to open your mind to an understanding. But, you know, vinyasa, there's a time where that's medicine, where we're in possibly more a depressed state of our life, where we need that activation, where our bodies aren't necessarily like really creating that dopamine and serotonin the way that we need to on their own, and that really helps create that. So that's a part of it. That's a part of like sitting with yourself and understanding and really like, and through slower modalities of yoga or just through meditation, we can start to sense these parts of ourselves. We can also bring in teachings or teachers that help guide us through understanding ourselves on different levels, that may be able to see like, hey, because of situations in your life, you may want to try a slower paced yoga, or because of situations in your life, maybe hatha is what you're looking for. You know what I mean? It really depends. And there may even be times, like for me, just for example, I want to make sure, I should have checked if it was on. I think I did. But even for example, there was times where physical injuries kept me from being able to access my full range of like a vinyasa practice. And I really needed to lean into a more gentle practice. And that helped me connect with my body in a different way completely. Ashtanga yoga may be something that, depending on what you're going through in life, that really disciplined, really structured yoga practice may be something that, brings you back to life, that keeps you in line. You know what I mean? And that's just the yogas. But I say this because I find that people try yoga, and I've actually been this person, right? Like I tried a vinyasa class. I found my favorite vinyasa teacher and I took that vinyasa class every Thursday night for 7 years, and I wouldn't regret one part of it ever. You know what I mean? But at some point she stopped teaching, or at some point something changed. I can't really remember like what the situation was, but like I had to, you know, um, like the universe just forced a change in my life. And that's when hot yoga started to come into my life. And hot yoga was a very physically healing yoga modality for me. So because I suffered from chronic pain and um, that I'll never recover from, like chronic physical issues, I have physical abnormalities in my body from childhood that I'll never recover from. I was at very high pain levels where my activity level was low. And hot yoga helped me get my body back, and that was the medicine for me then. And then going through a trauma-informed yoga training was the medicine for me after that. And then really getting into the philosophy of yoga, the teachings of yoga, the Bhagavad Gita, the sutras, the 8-limb path, and like really slowing down to be into the spirituality of it. That was the medicine for me, and then leading into energy work. We have, and I explain this a little bit on some things that I share, and I say this a lot to people, just based on like an energy standpoint. And it was kind of like a confirmation elsewhere where I was like, oh, science has actually like a word for this and a demonstration of this and an understanding of it, is that we carry trauma in our bodies, right? So like when, I go into a Reiki session, spirit will pull through whatever, will tell me what needs to be done, will make me aware, and sometimes not. And I'm just also able to read the energy of chakra systems, of woundings in the body, so on and so forth. So it's like I was very aware of what we keep trapped in our bodies. So what we don't understand about yoga is that it's very energetically healing as well as meditative, right? Because of the fascia system, the vinyasa practice is actually designed for the body to kind of be like a wave, right? And we have a fascia, so I'm jumping around, so give me 1 second. I do that. But we have a fascia system that covers our entire muscle and skeletal system, right? And it is what we do when we do a vinyasa practice is we're moving the fluid in the body over that fascia system, and we're also detoxing out the organs with certain poses. We're detoxing and wringing out that fascia, and the fascia is connective tissue, so it actually is tissue that connects like your toe to your head, which is why certain poses you feel such deep stretches everywhere. Nonetheless, that makes it also energetically cleansing, physically cleansing, and energetically cleansing to the body, especially when you work with a teacher who's going to cater a practice to you, your energy, and your body, and really work on using it as medicine and not as an exercise. Also, going back to the energy work, not that it's not an exercise, of course it is, but like it is, for the purposes of what I do and for the purposes of this discussion, it's medicine and should be treated as such. Going into the energy healing, seeing what's imbalanced or being told or led or guided to understand what's still being held in the body and helping to move the energy, clearing that out. And then also translating that into life is something that I help my clients with. We help translate that into life on how we can use our everyday life to activate or rebalance our chakra systems once we've discovered what's really going on in there. So, and then that also leads me into sound healing. So the Reiki and the energy work is something that I find so profound. The Reiki energy work and sound healing is because we don't all have physical memory of the trauma that we've been through. So trauma is defined as something that just at that point in time, the nervous system wasn't capable of handling. So because of that, the body and the mind, right, responded in a certain way. And the memory of that and where that's stored was done in a certain way. And then that gets stored in the body. And then eventually over time, without treatment, turns into dis-ease, right? disease, but we'll call it dis-ease in the body. So energy work and sound healing, I believe, penetrate very deeply through our bodies. In yoga, we learn about the multiple bodies that we have. So we have we have our aura, but we have our mind body, our physical body, our spirit body, right? And what energy work and sound healing can do or does is move through the layers of those things without cognition having to be involved. So that means that regardless of whether or not you have memory of the situation, or even let's say it's tied to your lineage, like epigenetics can explain in science, but us people who understand energy or read energy or have been in that space for a long time, or you could just be a highly empathic person that just naturally has a knowing and understanding of energy without being trained in anything, understand and know and can see these things in the body, and know that there's not always links to this lifetime, that some of these things, and when you study the philosophy of yoga and you talk about reincarnation, and when we do energy work, we think and talk about things in terms of karmic life cycles, reincarnation and such. We carry things with us as we move through these life cycles. And energy work and sound healing helps to clear out what higher self believes is ready to be cleared out for your greatest and highest of good. Some things stay for the lessons that we still need to learn. Energy work helps us identify those and learn them and clear them out, or at least the way that I do that, it does. And then on top of it, so it's just going through these layers and clearing things out without that having to talk about it, right? So that applies for things that are also things that you have memory of traumatically and you're not ready to talk about. Energy work and sound healing will also and can also help promote the healing of those things. It may bring things to the surface for your awareness and for the lessons, and to help create a space for the body to release them. But they come to the surface because it puts the body in a space where it feels safe enough to release what it's holding on to. And ultimately, even though sometimes facing those things may not be the most delightful part of healing, it really is what we want. Because long term, the less that we're walking around with trapped in our beings, in our auras, in our bodies, in our spirits, in our minds, in our physical bodies, the more we're going to be able to connect with self, higher self, sense of higher self, sense of source. And then we're walking through the world more balanced, peaceful, harmonious. And then we're also creating that and co-creating that in other people's lives because of the way that we're able to walk through the world, because of the healing work that you've done through multiple modalities. Because without that, we're all walking around with some pain that actually is more than we can bear. And we just don't know what to do with it. So that's why I just want to give a little bit of awareness about some of the things that I do, but just also some of the things that you can do for yourself, and the mindfulness that you can bring into these healing modalities in order to listen to your body because it's telling you what it is that you need. And sometimes we need some time and some help to discern between the spirit and the ego, the heart and fear, or I should really say like intuition or fear. Because sometimes they can feel very similar, especially based on processing and programming. But I don't know. I hope that some of this helped. If you're interested in anything that I do, definitely give me a shout. Other than that, I hope that this just helped you understand a little bit more about holistic healing and the choices that you have and the way that you can choose to look at some of these things, and that they are huge investments in yourself and in your health, and that I hope that you really like take the time to go on the journey of exploring what they all have to offer. And there's so much more than what I've even talked about. Ayurvedically, medication, Ayurvedic medicine, and food, following those paths. I'm a huge believer in acupuncture and stuff like that. It's also very energetically healing, bringing our chi back into center. There's many ways to heal. And I guess like my biggest message is like, don't get stuck in one. Keep going. Keep going. Keep healing. Move out of that comfort zone and don't stay in one modality, so that you never really get to experience the fullness of yourself. Have a good one. Happy Sunday.